One, two, three, action.
Hey everybody, I'm Jaquela Morris and I'm back again with another Yap session on Yapping with a Purpose. Today I'm doing it a little different. I'm giving it to you, giving the information to you in my presentation style. And y'all, I feel like got a lot of good information and it's about how we can build sustainable systems and combat our systemic problems that we have in our communities. And it is personal, personal to me. It should be personal to you if you're affected by the daily things that we're going through today. And this video should encourage you to participate, be a participant in how your life is going in the climate we're in. And so I'm not gonna say too much here in the beginning. Let's get into the presentation. I want to start by telling you what this is not. This is not a conversation about one politician. It is not a conversation about one policy, one scandal, one news cycle, or one injustice. Those conversations are happening everywhere else. This is not what we are here to do today. What we are doing here today is talking about systems. We are talking about the entire architecture, the interlocking web of economic, political, cultural, and legal structures that shape our lives every single day, whether we are paying attention to them or not. And the first thing I need you to understand is this: system does not require a villain to do damage. The system does not need someone sitting in a room plotting against you. The system just needs to keep running. And our job, our collective, strategic, urgent job, is to stop feeding the systems that harm us and start building the systems that will save us. That is what the next 30 minutes will be about. Let's get to work. Here's the trap most of us fall into. We see a problem, police brutality, the wealth gap, food deserts, predatory lending, underfunded schools, and we respond to that one problem. We organize around that one problem, we fundraise around that one problem. And then when that problem doesn't fully go away, we burn out. We get discouraged and we wonder why the movement keeps losing momentum. But here's the truth: you are not losing. You are just fighting the wrong unit of analysis. You are throwing individual punches at something that is not built like an individual opponent. It is built like an ecosystem. You cannot defeat an ecosystem with a single punch. Think about it this way: what happens to a forest when you cut down one tree? Nothing. The forest is still there. But what happens when you disrupt the soil? The water supply, the canopy, the root systems, all at once. The entire ecosystem is forced to respond. That is the difference between one issue activism and system strategy. The slide here says it plainly. We're naming the whole ecosystem, not one piece of it, not the piece that made the news this week, the whole thing. And the moment you shift your thinking from problem by problem to system versus system, everything changes. Your strategy changes, your priorities change, your energy stops being scattered and starts being concentrated. So let's talk about the first practical lever: where our dollars go. I want to talk to you about 5 categories where we have enormous immediate power we are not currently using. These are 5 economic systems that rely heavily on Black consumer spending to stay profitable and yet return very little of that value back to Black communities. They are big entertainment, big food and beverage, big banks and credit, lottery and gambling, and what I call toxic attention platforms. Let me be clear about what I mean when I say boycott. I am not asking you to suffer. I am not asking you to deprive yourself. I am asking you to redirect. Every dollar you spend is a vote. It is a signal to the market that says, I approve of what you are doing. Keep doing it. And right now, we are sending approval signals to industries that use our money to lobby against our interests, market products that harm our health, and extract wealth from our communities without reinvesting it. Big entertainment, black audiences represent a disproportionate share of box office revenue, streaming subscriptions, and music sales. That leverage is real, and it is currently going uncollected. Big food and beverage processed food companies specifically target Black and Latino communities with advertising for products that drive chronic disease. Big banks and credit, predatory lending, and exploitative fee structures drain billions from communities that can least afford it. Lottery and gambling, designed and placed primarily in low income communities, functioning as a regressive tax on hope. Toxic attention platforms, social media systems engineered to monetize your outrage and sell your attention to the highest bidder. We are not asking them to give us anything. We are withdrawing what we already give. Power is already in our hands. We just have to choose to use it. Let's start with entertainment because it is the most intermediate lever available to almost everyone in the world. Entertainment is where we start, and here is why. It is discretionary. Nobody needs a Netflix subscription to survive. Nobody needs to be in the theater opening weekend. That means we can redirect this spending immediately. No waiting for policy, no waiting for legislation, no waiting for anyone's permission. The moment you decide, it happens. Black audiences have driven the success of some of the highest grossing entertainment franchises in history. Our viewership numbers are cited in earnings calls. Our streaming habits move stock prices. Studios greenlight projects based on our consumption patterns. We are not a fringe audience. We are a foundational audience. And foundational audiences have foundational power. But right now, we are spending that power without negotiating for anything in return. So the ask is simple. Start redirecting. Support Black creators. Support Black owned streaming platforms. Support independent Black filmmakers and musicians who keep their revenue inside the community. You don't have to give up entertainment, you have to redirect it. And the beautiful thing is that the alternatives already exist. They're already there. This is not about sacrifice. This is about substitution. And substitution with purpose, you swap $1 for another. But the second dollar does something the first one never did. It builds something that belongs to you. Now I want to introduce the framework that holds all of this together. I want you to imagine a two-engine plane. Both engines are required for flight. If you shut one down, you do not cruise at half speed, you go down. Both engines must fire at the same time in the same direction or the plane does not stay in the air. That is exactly how I want you to think about this framework. We're operating on two tracks simultaneously and both must run at the same time. Track A is fighting inside the system. This is the political organizing, the legal strategy, economic pressure campaigns, the voter registration drives, the candidate accountability work. Track A says as long as the system exists and has power over our lives, we will engage it strategically, not emotionally. Strategically. We will hold officials accountable. We will use every legal and political lever available to us. Track B is building outside the system. This is the co-ops, the community land trusts, the credit unions, the black-owned schools, the urban farms, the independent media. Track B says we are not waiting for permission and we are not waiting for this system to reform itself. We are building our own architecture in parallel. Here's the make Hmm. Here is the mistake we make over and over again. We choose one track and abandon the other. Integrationists and the nationalists have been arguing since the 1960s about which track is real strategy, as if that argument itself isn't part of what keeps us divided and stationary. It is a false choice. Both tracks are real, both tracks are necessary, and both tracks must run simultaneously right now today. You do not stop voting because you are building a co-op. You do not stop building a co-op because you are voting. Both engines fire. That is how you fly. Let's go deeper into track A first. Hack A, fighting inside the system. This is about political power, legal power, and economic leverage used as a weapon of strategic pressure. Not hope, not goodwill, pressure. Let's go deeper. Let me ask you something. How many of you voted in the last presidential election? hmm Now, how many of you voted in the last school board election, the last city council race, the last county commissioner election? That is the gap. That is exactly the gap. We mobilize for national elections and then go quiet for the elections that actually control our daily lives. The schools our children attend, the zoning laws that determine where businesses can open, the police oversight structures, the water contracts, the housing development decisions. All of that lives at the local level, and we skip local elections and then wonder why nothing changes in our neighborhoods. Here is a statistic that should change the way you see this forever. In many local elections, 50 to 200 consistent organized voters in a single district can swing the entire race. Not 50,000, 50, because turnout in local elections is that low. That means a small, organized, disciplined block of voters has outsized power in local politics, power that currently goes unused. So here is the four-step local playbook. Write this down. Step one, map the power. Who actually holds power in your city or county right now? School board members, city council, sheriff, district attorney, county judge. Know their names, know their records, know when their terms expired. Step two, organize the block. You do not need everyone. You need 50 to 200 people who will show up every single time without fail. Quality over quantity, consistency over enthusiasm. Step three, set non negotiables. Before you endorse anyone or vote for anyone, the bloc has agreed on what they must deliver, not what they hope to deliver, what they must deliver. I'll go deeper on this in the next slide. Step four, apply pressure. Hold elected officials accountable between elections, not just on election day. Show up to city council meetings, speak at public hearings, make it clear that your bloc is watching, organized, and will act accordingly at the next opportunity. Local politics is where systemic change actually happens. It is the most accessible lever available to you right now. In Marshall, in East Texas, in every community where people feel like the system doesn't respond to them, it will respond when it has to. Make it have to. Which brings me to the question of non negotiables. I want to talk about the most powerful word in political organizing. Not yes, the most powerful word is no. The power to say no and mean it is the only thing that makes a politician take you seriously. If you will vote for someone regardless of whether they deliver, you have no leverage. Zero. You are a guaranteed vote they do not have to work for. Six non negotiables on this slide are the floor, not the ceiling, the floor. These are the minimum commitments a candidate must make before they receive community support. Let me walk through them. One, transparent police accountability structures, not promises of reform, specific enforceable community controlled accountability mechanisms. Two, equitable school funding, not just I support education, a specific commitment to closing resource gaps between districts. Three, investment in community infrastructure, roads, broadband, parks, public health resources in Black and low income neighborhoods, not just downtown. Four, anti-displacement housing policy, a commitment to protecting long-term residents from gentrification and predatory development. Five, contracts and economic inclusion, a measurable commitment to directing public contracts to locally owned and minority-owned businesses. Six, environmental justice, no more toxic facilities, landfills, or industrial sites placed adjacent to Black communities. Any candidate who will not commit to these six things does not get our vote, period. Regardless of party, regardless of how much we like them personally, regardless of who their parents were. The commitment must be on the record in writing before we mobilize a single volunteer on their behalf. Print this list, bring it to every town hall, ask the hard questions out loud in public, on camera. That is not rudeness, that is governance. Now let's talk about legal strategy because political power without legal armor is incomplete. I want to shift how you think about legal strategy. Most of us think about lawyers the way we think about ambulances. You call one when something has already gone wrong. You call them when someone has already been harmed, already been wrongfully arrested, already lost a job. That is defensive legal strategy and it is important, but it's not sufficient. What we need is a legal strategy that goes on offense before anything goes wrong. This is what the NAACP understood in the mid 20th century. Thurgood Marshall and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund did not wake up one day and react to Brown v. Board. They spent more than a decade building a legal architecture, case by case, precedent by precedent, working backwards from a predetermined destination. They were playing chess while everyone else was reacting to checkers. What does that look like today? It starts with relationships. Every organized community should have a legal liaison, a civil rights attorney, or a law clinic on retainer or on call before any crisis happens. It means training community members in the basics, what to say, what not to say, and most importantly, how to document everything. The camera is most the camera is the most powerful legal tool we have today. A well documented video has changed criminal cases, overturned convictions, exposed police brutality, and forced settlements that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Documentation is not paranoia, it is strategy. We train our kids to have good grades and good manners. We should also train them to be good witnesses. Build a relationship with the attorney before you need the attorney. Build the documentation habits before the incident occurs. Go on offense. Play the long game. Now let's talk about the economic dimension of track A because this is where our most immediate power lives. The numbers behind the slide are not abstract. Black consumer spending power in the United States exceeds $1.5 trillion annually. Let me say that again so it lands correctly. $1.5 trillion. That is not potential, that is actual, present, current spending. Money that is being spent right now, today in this country, by Black Americans. The question is not whether we have economic power, the question is where that power is currently going and whether we are using it strategically or accidentally. Because right now, most of it is being spent accidentally. We are spending it on systems that take the money out of our communities, lobby against our interests, and fund the very policies we say we oppose. The framework I want you to walk away with is the three words: stop, redirect, demand. Stop spending with corporations that actively harm your community. Do the research, follow the money, find out where your dollars go after you spend them. Redirect those dollars to Black owned businesses, credit unions, co ops, and institutions that recirculate wealth within the community. Demand accountability from the corporations you do continue to support. Community benefits agreements, local hiring commitments, philanthropic reinvestment. Put it in writing. They need our dollars more than we need their products. They need our dollars more than we need their products. They need us more than we need them. That is power. The only question is whether we choose to use it. Before we move to track B, I want to take a moment to honor where all of this comes from. History is not a museum, it is a playbook. And I need you to receive what I'm about to say in that spirit, not as nostalgia, not as celebration, but as a strategic manual written by people who faced much harder conditions than we face today and still found a way to move forward. In 1955, the people of Montgomery, Alabama launched a bus boycott. They did it without smartphones, without social media, without email lists. They coordinated through churches and carpools and word of mouth. They organized 50,000 people to walk, carpool, and sacrifice for 381 days. They did not stop until the system changed, and the system changed. In the 1960s, sit-in organizers chose their targets deliberately. They did not pick random lunch counters. They picked the most economically vulnerable targets. Department stores that depended on Black consumer spending for a large portion of their revenue. They understood that economic disruption is more persuasive than moral argument alone in a system that operates on profit. In communities across the South, Black Americans built their own banks, their own insurance companies, their own schools, their own newspapers, their own hospitals. Greenwood, Oklahoma, which you know is Black Wall Street, was not an accident. It was what collective, intentional economic strategy looks like when it is allowed to compound over decades. Everything they did, we can do. We have their blueprint and we have tools they never had access to: the internet, mobile banking, digital, organizing global networks, and a body of legal precedent they literally bled to build. Only thing we need to add is the will to do it with the same discipline and consistency they did. Which brings us to track B. Track B, building outside the system. This is the part that doesn't get enough attention. This is the part that gets called radical or unrealistic or premature. This is the part I'm most excited about because this is where permanence lives. Now let's build something. There are 5 areas where we must build self sustaining, community controlled systems. 5 pillars, and I want to be clear about why the word pillars is intentional. Remove one, and the structure is weakened. All 5 must be developed simultaneously, just like the 2 tracks we discussed. This is not a pick your favorite list, this is an integrated architecture. Pillar 1, food sovereignty. Control over what we eat, where it comes from, and who profits from feeding us. Pillar 2, housing and land. Ownership of the physical assets that form the foundation of generational wealth. Pillar 3, financial independence. Banking, lending, and investment systems that serve our communities rather than extract from them. Pillar 4, education and skills. Community controlled learning environments that prepare our children for a world we are building, not just a world that already exists. Pillar 5, media and culture. The ability to tell our own stories in our own voice through channels we own and control. Each one of these pillars weakens our dependency on systems that exploit us, and each one, as it grows stronger, increases our ability to negotiate from a position of power inside those same systems. Track A and Track B reinforce each other. The stronger Track B becomes, the stronger our leverage in Track A. That is how it works. Let's go deep on the pillar that is most foundational to everything else: the food that we eat. I want to start this section with a fact that should make you angry. Research has consistently shown that fast food companies and processed food and beverage corporations specifically target Black and Latino communities with advertising for their highest sugar, highest sodium, most chemically processed products. Not their salads, not their water, their most harmful products. And the communities they target most aggressively are often the same communities with the fewest full service grocery stores with accessible distance. This is not coincidence. This is design. They engineered the food environment. They lobbied against nutrition policy. They placed their stores in specific zip codes. And then this is the part that takes your breath away. The same parent companies that sell the food that drives chronic disease also hold stakes in pharmaceutical companies that sell the insulin, the blood pressure medication, the cholesterol treatments. They engineered the disease and then sold us the medicine. That is not capitalism at work. That is a trap at scale. We break that cycle by growing our own food. I mean that literally, and I mean it as a long term strategic vision. Community gardens, buying clubs that purchase directly from Black farmers, food cooperatives that replace the corner store with a community owned market, urban agriculture programs that teach the next generation that food is not just something you buy, it is something you cultivate. There are Black farmers in this country, farmers who have survived every effort to push them off of their land, who are growing clean food right now, who need the communities to support them the way we support streaming platforms and fast food chains. The choice to buy from a Black farmer is not just a health choice, it is a political act. It is a vote for a different food system. Food sovereignty is not a luxury, it is an infrastructure. And it is one of the most powerful places where the track B can take root, literally and figuratively, in every neighborhood in this country. Let's talk about the money itself. I want to give you one statistic, and I want you to sit with it. The average Black dollar circulates in the Black community for approximately 6 hours before leaving. 6 hours. Compare that to the average Jewish American community, where their dollar circulates for 20 days. The average Asian American community, 28 days. 28 days versus 6 hours. That is not a statement about character or culture. That is a statement about infrastructure. Communities that have intentionally built their own banks, their own businesses, their own professional networks, their own referral systems. Their dollars stay in circulation longer because there are more places for their dollar to go before it has to leave. The infrastructure creates the circulation. We build the infrastructure, we extend the circulation. Here are 5 things you can do to start building that infrastructure right now. 1. Move your money to a Black owned bank or credit union. They reinvest deposits into the communities they serve. 2. Support Black owned businesses first. Make it the default, not the occasional choice. 3. Build a group economics model. Buying clubs, investment circles, group saving pools. These are not new ideas. They are proven models that our community has used before and must use again. 4. Teach financial literacy in your household and your circle. Credit, compound interest, home ownership, investment. These are not topics reserved for wealthy people. They are survival tools. 5. Demand reinvestment. When you spend outside the community, hire locally, buy locally. When you must spend outside, spend with businesses that hire from their neighborhood and give back to it. Financial independence is not about being rich. It is about not being financially controlled. Those are two very different conversations, and we need to have the second one a lot more often than we do. Now, let's talk about the asset that underlies all wealth: land. Every great wave of wealth building in American history has been rooted in one thing: land ownership. The Homestead Act gave away millions of acres of land to people who were not Black. The GI Bill created the American middle class through home ownership subsidies, from which Black veterans were systemically excluded. Redlining confined Black families to specific neighborhoods and then denied them the loans to buy property in those neighborhoods. The wealth gap that exists today is not accidental. It was engineered, deed by deed, policy by policy, generation by generation. Today, the Black homeownership rate in America remains significantly below the white homeownership rate, a gap that has barely closed in 50 years. Meanwhile, Black farmland ownership has decreased dramatically since the peak in the early 20th century, with millions of acres lost to discriminatory lending, air property complications, and targeted pressure. But here's what we do right now. Community land trusts are one of the most powerful tools available to us. A community land trust is a nonprofit that holds land in perpetuity and makes it permanently affordable for residents to buy or rent. It removes land from the speculative market. It prevents displacement. It creates intergenerational stability that cannot be taken away by a single market cycle. The three-word formula for every family, every household, every community is this: buy, hold, transfer. Buy the land, hold it, do not sell it in a crisis, and transfer it to the next generation. That is how wealth compounds across time. That is how you build something that lasts beyond one lifetime. So one more thing we have to address before we get to the action roadmap, and it's the thing nobody wants to talk about. I'm going to say something right now that it might land a little uncomfortably, and I'm going to ask you to sit with it instead of dismissing it. We are spending enormous amounts of time, hours per day, every day, on platforms that were not built to connect us. They were built to monetize us. And the way they monetize us most effectively is by making us angry, divided, distracted, and anxious. Because anger keeps us scrolling, controversy keeps us clicking, outrage is the most profitable emotion in the attention economy. This is not a moral lecture. I'm not telling you, I'm not here to tell you that social media is evil and you should feel ashamed of yourself. I'm telling you this as a strategic matter because the same community that is trying to organize politically, build economically, and sustain culturally is also spending 4 to 6 hours a day feeding its most profitable data and most valuable attention to systems that are actively working against our collective progress. Your attention is capital. It is a resource that you produce and that someone else harvests. And right now, we are being harvested at scale. The strategic move is to start spending your attention the way you spend your money, intentionally, with a return in mind. Invest your attention in content that builds skills, in communities that organize action, in media that you own or that is accountable to you. Your attention is capital. Spend it like it is. So, what does all of this look like in practice? Let's get specific. I need you to hear me on this. This is not a 10-year plan that you think about someday. Phase one starts this week. Before you leave this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what it looks like. Phase one this week. Your focus is personal audit. Map your spending. Identify your top three redirections. Open an account at a Black owned bank or credit union. Delete or time limit one toxic platform. Phase two, 30 days. The focus is community connection. Attend one local government meeting, join or form one local organization, recruit 5 people to the framework. Phase three, 90 days. The focus is organized action. Launch or join a buying club or co op. Map local political power. Set non negotiables with your block. Establish a legal contact. Phase four, 1 year. Focus is systemic infrastructure. Formalize political bloc, active economic redirection campaigns, participation in community land or food sovereignty projects, measurable accountability on elected officials. Phase one this week, map your spending. Take 30 minutes tonight, tomorrow morning, this weekend, and look at where your money went last month. Identify the top three places you can redirect. Open an account at a Black owned bank or credit union. Set a time limit on the social media platform that takes the most of your attention and gives at the least in return. That is phase one. That is this week. That is before this video ends. Every phase builds on the last. And 12 months from now, if every person in this room completes all 4 phases, we will have measurably changed the political and economic landscape of this community. Not theoretically, actually, measurably. That is the power of organized, systemic, consistent action. Before the close, I want to give you the filter you carry with you always. A decision making filter that you can apply to virtually any choice you make going forward. It is 2 questions. They take about 10 seconds to ask, and they will radically change the quality of your strategic thinking. Question one: does this action increase my leverage inside the system? Does it build political power, apply economic pressure, or use legal tools to make the existing system respond to my community's needs? Question two: does this action increase my independence outside the system? Does it build infrastructure, ownership, self reliance, or community capacity that reduces our vulnerability to systems we do not control? If the answer to both questions is no, if an action doesn't strengthen track A or track B in any way, then you have to ask yourself why you're doing it. That includes where you spend your money, how you spend your time, who you vote for, what you post online, who you amplify, what meetings you attend, what organizations you support. Apply the filter every single time. It becomes automatic. And when it becomes automatic, you are no longer reacting to the system. You are operating strategically against it. And now, here's where we close. I'm closing by speaking to you directly, not as an audience, as people I am in community with, because that is what this is. This is not a video just for me to be presenting information when you click off of it. This is the beginning of an ongoing conversation, an ongoing commitment, an ongoing strategy that we carry out of this video and into our lives and across the country, starting right now. I am leaving you with three calls to action. Three, not 30. Three, because focus is a form of power and I am not going to dilute. Call to action one. Pick your lane today, not this weekend, today. Before you end this video, make one specific commitment, move one account, attend one meeting, make one call, redirect $1. You do not have to do everything. You have to do one thing today and then another thing tomorrow. A system is built one brick at a time. Lay your brick today. Call to action two. Bring someone with you. Whatever lane you pick, do not walk it alone. Find one person, a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a colleague, and pull them into the framework. Movements do not grow through viral moments. They grow through personal invitation. The most powerful thing you can say is not a tweet. It is, I'm doing this, come with me. Call to action three. Measure everything. Set a goal. Give it a date. Track it. Review it. If it is working, scale it. If it's not, adapt it. Strategy without measurement is just activity. And we do not have time for activity. We have time for results. Here is what I want you to remember after everything else fades. You were not born into this fight by accident. You were born into it with exactly the skills, the community, the history, and the capacity that it requires. The system has always counted on us being too divided, too discouraged, or too distracted to organize at the level required to challenge it. Today, we stop giving it what it is counting on. The system has had its day. Now we build ours. So thank y'all for watching this video through and through. Thank you for being here with Yapping with a Purpose. Like, comment, and subscribe. I hope this video encouraged you to get active today. Um, did not mean to overwhelm you. Just wanted to provide you with some information, and that's the plan. Because I think when tackling these life issues that we have, we cannot focus on just one part when it's a whole system out there created to run on our ignorance, on our inaction. So, yeah, that's what I say. Get active today. Get you some pals. Y'all get active together and stay encouraged, stay uplifted, and we can get through this because our people got through it before and we still here. Okay, see y'all in the next video.